All right, hello everybody. Create this pre-recording of Lab 12, our last lab. Sorry about so many pre-recordings over the last 2 weeks. Um, we all have our personal lives. We all got to deal with change of pace. But I'm briefly going to go over this lab. You'll pretty much have a gist of what you have to do. But Lab 12 is going to focus on your invertebrates, two invertebrate phyla, the Arthropoda and Echinodermatus. And then it'll finish with our phyla chordata or vertebrates. So I just listed them as vertebrates on there. It'll be the usual bit, but the way it'll work is for the phyla arthropoda, you'll be focusing mainly on chelicerates and pancrustaceans. So you'll have to identify the parts of a horseshoe crab, which should be pretty self-explanatory. You can use these diagrams, should work real well. These are pictures of the actual horseshoe crabs that we would have used. Actually, the one that we don't have anymore. This is the large one that I said was at least 2 feet or a little longer. We don't have it anymore, but it took great pictures. So I give you a ventral pic and I give you a dorsal pic here of the horseshoe crab. Okay, I guess that's all I have there. I give you a little more, but just compare these pics here on this slide to the previous slide. And then once you match those up, then you can start transferring it over to your Lab 12 pics to start labeling the parts. And it shouldn't be too difficult on there. Now, then you'll move into your phylarthropoda, specifically your pancrustaceans, starting with the crayfish. Okay, and on the crayfish there, these two figs again should help you out quite a bit with labeling your crayfish. You can see here they're trying to show you there's two types of antenna or antennae. They're showing you here the dorsal surface of the crayfish. And then there was supposed to be another one. Here they're showing you the ventral surface. It's trying to show you where you'll look for the swimmerettes. The swimmerettes will be along the body. It'll look like you're seeing these little appendages, but then you can't tell if they're appendages or if the shell's flaking off, but they'll be a light color on the pics I gave you, but they actually look like little bitty legs, if you want to call them. You can't see it well from here, from the lateral viewer here, but on the pics I gave you, you should be able to see. I kind of describe them as these opaque or whitish color looking things that come in pairs along the ventral side down here in the abdominal area. The rest is pretty straightforward and pretty easy to label. And then also in the pancrustation, you'll label parts of the grasshopper. This is super easy. So this is a type of grasshopper you would have looked at. It's roughly close to 3 inches and 2 to 3 inches in length. They're pretty big. And but this diagram should help you with the labeling there also. And this one's really should be real easy to do. Then we switch over to our phyla Echinodermata, where you would have been labeling a sea star. This is a pic of one of our actual sea stars. Looks better than the pics I was able to come up with. But when you look at the sea star, I'm going to let y'all figure it out. But this right here is the dorsal surface. Okay. This pic here is the ventral surface. You can see a drastic difference in the two here. And on both of them here, I give you some information on parts for the dorsal surface to compare here. And I give you a figure here to help you figure out what to label for the ventral surface. And then again, there's another video here to watch if you want to watch on there. I do recommend watching them just so you can see these organisms, especially when it comes to the 2 feet that you can see here that are sticking up like hair-like projections. Then we get into vertebrates. The actual PowerPoint should look better than this because I just checked it. It's not all messed up like this. But we're going to get into vertebrates starting with activity 5, and you will start with the perch. Okay, and for the perch, it's going to give you some external structures that you have to identify, such as the eyes, the nostrils. I had a student ask me, why nostrils, sir? They don't breathe through their nose. They breathe through their gills. And I said the nostrils are used for the sense of smell still, though, not just breathing. The mouth, the gill slits are openings. The flaps of tissue, okay, the flaps of tissues that border these gill slits are called the operculum. So you'll be looking for the operculum around here. And if you were to lift up the operculum, you could see an opening, a slit-like opening. That's the gill. Okay. Then you can see it'll ask you to identify the anterior or dorsal fin, posterior dorsal fin, caudal fin, pectoral fin, pelvic fin, and anal fin, which all of that is on here. This is a pic I give you here, but actually what happened was Joel and I met, and he whatchamacallit, kind of a, how do you say, set up the perch kind of like a model, taking pictures. And the picture I provided for you is much better than this one here. It should make it easier to label the parts of the perch, but it's only external anatomy you're labeling on the perch. The next invertebrate will be an amphibian called a bullfrog. Okay, you'll have external anatomy to label, which is pretty easy. The toughest part for people is figuring out the tympanic membrane. I'm going to let you figure that out. It should be easy, but it's a pretty good sized frog, okay, that you would have been working with, and you would have identified certain external anatomical structures. And then you would have dissected the bullfrog and identified some internal anatomical structures. Listen carefully. You have to watch the video. This is a video on the dissection of the bullfrog. Okay. The bullfrog, some anatomical parts should be pretty easy to ID, such as the heart, the liver. Okay, if you watch the video, you should be able to find the gallbladder, the stomach, the intestines. Okay. But the parts that are very hard to locate, and thus you need to watch the video and look closely, they are in the pic, but they're not easy to ID, are the lungs. The lungs are not going to stand out, okay? You have to look for the lungs. The kidneys are also not going to stand out, okay? So you'll have to look for those, and then the spleen. In us, the spleen is located in our abdominal area in what we call the upper left quadrant. It's not that simple in the frog. However, make sure you watch this video, and this video will help you out along with these pics that I posted to try and help you out, okay? So you got to put some effort into the internal anatomy for the bullfrog to be able to identify the parts. This right here are the eggs of the females, which it's showing you down here. So some of the pics I gave you, unfortunately, we had the female bullfrog, which the eggs can kind of get in the way. Last, okay, was going to be our phylochordata, but specifically it was going to be our mammals, fetal pig. You're responsible for these parts of the external anatomy, which are really easy. No, it should be no problem here, using this diagram especially. But then what we would have done, we would have dissected the pig, okay? And you would have been responsible for identifying these anatomical structures. Now, in case of the pig, it's really easy. You should have no trouble locating the heart, the lungs, liver, gallbladder, the kidneys, the stomach, the small and large intestines. The only thing that can throw you off is the spleen. They're showing you here, okay, this would be roughly the upper left quadrant. The spleen, okay, is right here. Now, had we been able to meet in person, what I normally would have you do is take the spleen, disconnect it from any connective tissue that's holding it next to these organs, and, how do you say, fold it outwards. And it almost looks like you're looking at a very long tongue. It's a flat, long organ, okay, not like the one that we expect to see in us. But the rest of the internal anatomy of the pig, okay, falls in line very much with just looking at the internal anatomy in a human being. So I provided you some pics here to help you locate what you need to locate, okay, to help you out. And again, I provided you with the video of a fetal pig dissection. Please watch that dissection, okay, as they go over the anatomical parts, both external and internal on the pig. All right. If you have any questions, please just email me. And again, like I said, for office hours, but more broadly, if you need to meet with me in person, we can do it through Blackboard Collaborate. Y'all have a good weekend, and y'all stay safe. And I will definitely meet with y'all on Tuesday doing a virtual lecture. Okay. Take care. Bye.